Nghĩa Let's wait for others to come in. Let's give them like 5 minutes so that we can have at least 20 attendees in the house. Then others will join us as we go along.
Ignatius, okay.
Good evening again, dear participants. I again welcome you to this webinar this evening, where we shall be discussing issues regarding public sector accounting and reporting, that's paper 14. Ms. Tonyu, are you hearing me? Hello?
Yes, I can get you. Yes, I'm getting you. Yes.
All right. So, dear participants, I wish to welcome our presenter this evening, who is CPA Charles Onyu. He's a public finance management specialist. Mr. Onyu holds a master's degree of business administration, accounting option. He's also a holder of a bachelor's degree in business administration, also accounting, and he's a certified public accountant. He has over 15 years of gainful experience from both public and private sector. He was previously head of department business management at Tech Business School. He has also been resourceful at the Uganda Matters University in Kozi, and he's currently working with Uganda National Roads Authority in Finance and Accounts Department. He's also a part-time lecturer at Makerere University College of Business and Management Sciences. So Mr. Onyu is our presenter this evening, and that is his brief profile. I will now welcome him and ask him to share his presentation, and also wish to welcome those who have just joined us as we wait for others who will join us as we go along. Mr. Onyu, please talk to us.
Thank you, CPM Chibi, for that intro. Let me share my presentation. Can we see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. This evening, thank you, Mr. Muchibi, for giving me the opportunity and the institute. I'm going to briefly share with the participants on a topic on how we should be able to prepare ourselves for public sector accounting and reporting. The brief outline of the presentation will have just the introduction, the assessment or examination purpose, when we are preparing for public sector, we are actually doing, we are trying to prepare ourselves for examination. So what's the examination purpose? Then we shall look at the format of public sector accounting. This I've picked it from the past papers, from the syllabus, and then I will go into detail how do we prepare for public sector accounting. Once we are through with the how do we prepare for public sector accounting, we shall briefly look at why do students fail public sector accounting. But of course, once we have known how to prepare, then it becomes easy for us to judge how or why students usually fail public sector accounting. And then we shall have a conclusion and question and answer.
Hello?
Yellow. The technology I'm trying to go through to the next slide is a bit freezing. Just bear with me a bit. As I saw it.
All right.
Okay. Can you see the next slide?
Yes, we can see introduction and question assessment.
Yes. Okay. So as we prepare for public sector accounting and reporting, basically what we are preparing for is we are preparing for examinations. So how do we prepare for those examinations? But before we dwell into how we prepare, I needed to try and see what education assessment is. What is the examination really? So students' assessment is one of the most important elements of higher education. The outcome of such assessment have profound effect on students' future careers. It is very important that we take assessments or examinations very seriously. Not only does it have a profound effect on students' future careers, but it has a ripple effect both to the institute, to the profession, and to the country at large. Because from the assessment, from the education, we actually bring out to students out of the education assessment who are going to work in the public sector. So it is important that we take it as something that is very, very important for the future of students, for the future of the profession. Education assessment is defined by so many people, but I just picked one definition from International Dictionary of Education, which defines assessment as a process by which one attempts to measure the quality and the quantity of learning and teaching using various assessment techniques, such as assignments, projects, continuous assessment, objective type, tests, final examinations, and standards. However, as we note, for the institute, we normally do the final examinations, which is usually written examinations. We do not have the opportunity to have continuous assessment, but these continuous assessment may be undertaken by the tuition providers that can be able to continuously assess how students are progressing in their academia. So when you are assessing, we are trying to look at the quality and the quantity of learning. We look at the quality. What is that students have learned? And we also look at how much have they learned. Now, what is the purpose of assessment? Or what's the purpose of the exam? There are basically three reasons that I have got that the assessment serves three purposes. One is to give a license to proceed to the next stage or a level, or to graduate. Public sector accounting is a level of 3 paper. And therefore, once you pass, then you can move to level 3. I mean level 4. But I'm also aware that there are those that are joining from other professions that may do public sector as the only paper may be available for them to do and complete the CPA course. And therefore, it will be a license for them to graduate. The other purpose of assessment is to classify the performance of students. It helps us to assess how various students, each student is performing compared to the other. And of course, the third one is to improve learning. Of course, as we give an assessment, especially if it is a continuous assessment, we want to see whether students have obtained a skill or they have not. And therefore, the assessment will help us to judge and to see areas of weakness. Where can we improve? Unfortunately for the institute, the institute, I think, only gives the how students have performed, but it may not be able to help on the direct improvement. It gives you a feedback, but on improvement, it is mostly the tuition providers that will be able to see how best they can improve the learning based on the assessment, based on the feedback they have obtained. Now, what's the level of assessment for public sector? Public sector accounting and reporting examination is designed to test the learner's analytical, evaluation, and synthesis skills in the management of public resources. It's the level of 3 exam, and therefore it does not really require what we would call rote learning, where students are only asked to produce or reproduce knowledge, but it is meant to see how students are able to critique, analyze, advise on a given subject matter. So basically, in analysis, it is concerned with being able to break the problem into its constraints, parts, differentiating and being able to establish a relationship within the problem. Synthesizing means being able to blend the elements and parts to form a whole. Is a student being able to look at information and make it as a whole. Students should be able to create structural pattern that was not previously present. The other level is on evaluation. At this highest level, students might judge the value of work, the logical consistency of written data, or the adequacy of someone else's conclusions. So you'll be asked to criticize, to critique, or to advise at this level. However, public sector accounting and reporting also tests for knowledge. You'll find they have asked you to state or explain, which basically requires you to recall what you have learned. So it also tests knowledge, that which can be recalled. It also tests for manipulation or comprehension, how you have understood, your ability to rephrase knowledge. And it also tests the application, ability to apply the knowledge that you have learned in a new environment or in new situations. Methods of assessment that are used in public sector. In terms of the type of assessment, public sector accounting and reporting basically uses summative. Generally, the institute uses summative type of assessment. Summative is what is done at the end of the course. So students go and study, and once they feel that they have acquired the knowledge, maybe at the end of 3 months or a semester, a student comes and registers and says, "Me, I'm ready to do exams." So that is a summative assessment. which is done at the end of the course. So it's conducted at the end of the course or at the end of the program. And the method that the institute uses is written examination, which is at designated exam centers in Kampala, Arua, Mbarara, Fort Gulu. Those are the areas that the institute, I'm told, conducts the examinations from. What is the structure of public sector accounting? Now, maybe before I deal with the structure of public sector accounting, I wanted to mention just one thing, that public sector accounting as a subject is basically meant to equip students with the skills, knowledge, attitudes in the management of public resources. And when we look at the syllabus, it clearly gives the aim of public sector accounting as to enable the learners to apply and integrate policy, legal, regulatory, institutional, reporting, and accountability frameworks in public sector. So we need to know what the public sector accounting is about. It's meant to prepare learners such that learners are able to apply the policy, legal, regulatory, institutional, and reporting framework in public sector. Now, according to the syllabus, and with my review of the past papers, the public sector accounting structure is basically has 2 sections. The exam itself is for 3 hours, made up of section A and B. Section A comprises of 1 compulsory question of 50 marks. And I've done some reviews on the past papers and the examiners' remarks. I have seen that a majority of students usually have a challenge in this compulsory question. And therefore, it is important that the students pay a lot of attention on what comes in section A. Section B comprises of 4 questions of 25 marks each, of which the candidate will be required to attempt 2 questions. Again, I have, through the review of the past papers, I see consistency in a numbering of questions. I see the consistency in a number of questions. Find question 2, question 3, follow a certain pattern. So it's important that as we prepare for this exam, we should also be able to know the consistency in the format, in the structure of how the institute sets the public sector accounting. Questions 3, 4, and 5 in section B are based on the syllabus, not examining the compulsory question. So section A has a compulsory question, but it has a number of items examined in the syllabus. However, those items that are not examined in the syllabus appear in questions 3, 4, 5, and question 2. Items in the syllabus such as the IPSAS, the accounting theory, the school issues in public sector accounting and finance, accounting practices in public sector, the reporting framework in Uganda. I would urge you to see the detailed syllabus from part A up to, I think, part X. So let's look at how best can we prepare for public sector accounting paper 14 examinations. Now, as a student, it is important that you acquaint yourself with the syllabus, with the contents to be covered. Because if you are preparing for exams, then you need to know the content. You need to know the syllabus. So let the syllabus be your guide. This will guide you in your learning, your revision, and during instructions as you prepare for your examinations. If you are a good learner, you should be able to know that, and you are attending lectures, to know that my tutor has taught this, he has not taught this, and maybe you need to prepare for it. You need to revise, or you need to find a way of covering it. The lecturer or a tutor may not be able to cover the whole syllabus. And therefore, as a student who is preparing for examinations, you must know the syllabus, you must know what is to be covered, what the lecturer or a tutor has covered, such that you prepare accordingly. So it is important that you have the syllabus. And the institute, I'm advised that the institute provides the syllabus for every student that registers for the professional course. So you are usually given the syllabus. So make use of that syllabus, know what you are supposed to cover as you begin your journey to prepare for examinations. Number two is know the learning outcome. Know the learning outcomes of public sector accounting. The learning outcomes are the expressions of what a student will demonstrate after successful completion of the course. What is that a student should be able to do at the end of the course unit that a student could not do before? So as you begin your journey, you have known the syllabus, but knowing the syllabus, you need to know what is that you are expected to do, to know. What skill are you expected to have at the end of doing public sector accounting? And by looking through the syllabus, the learning outcomes are clearly stated. I can see there are about 8 learning outcomes that a student or a candidate who is preparing for public sector accounting is expected to learn. And I believe that we have the syllabus, but maybe I can briefly mention a few. I see number 1 talks about discuss and explain the main features of public sector entities. So as a student who is preparing for public sector accounting, you should know what are the features, what are the main features of public sector entities. You should have it at the back of your mind. 2 is to discuss and apply public sector policy, legal and reporting framework. So as a student, you must know what are the public sector policies, what are the legal and reporting frameworks that you are expected to know. Where do you get these policies? So who issues public sector policies? Now, most students or most candidates may not be aware that the Accountant General does issue what we call Treasury Accounting Instructions, which has policies and guidelines on what is expected of a public accountant who is in the public sector. The Accountant General issues usually these treasury instructions. I I think the current one is Treasury instructions, Treasury accounting instructions of 2017, which are in place. The third one is to apply principles, practices, and techniques in the control and management of public resources in Uganda. So you need to know the learning outcomes. What is that you are expected to do, to know at the end of the course? Such that as you are preparing, as you are doing your revision, you ask yourself, do I know these things? Can I be able to prepare consolidated financial statements? Am I able to interpret statutory and management reports according to applicable public sector frameworks? So you must know the learning outcomes. What is that you are expected to be able to do at the end of public sector accounting? The other one is getting learning resources or materials. As a student, the institute gives or provides the recommended textbooks that you should use for public sector accounting. So at the end of the syllabus, for public sector accounting, there are textbooks that have been recommended. Invest in yourself. Acquire these textbooks that are recommended. It is important that you get them as your tutor provides you with the learning notes. It's also important that you, as a person who is preparing, you should have your own textbook. So the other items that you need to have, which are very important for preparation of public sector accounting, you need to acquire or have Public Finance Management Act, PFMA 2015 as amended, and its regulations 2016. Because it is the law that guides the management of public finance. So as you are preparing for public finance management or public sector accounting, you must know the law and you must be up to date. There are a number of amendments that have been made. When I was reviewing the examiner's remarks and reports, I noted that the examiners have been mentioning students are not up to date. They are giving provisions that have been amended. It therefore means that maybe students or candidates have not taken time to read through the law, to read through the amendments. The other important resource is the PPDA Act 2003 as amended and the PPDA Regulations 2014. I have seen that consistently the institute seems to set question 2 as a procurement question. So it's therefore important that you have the PPDA Act, you have the PPDA regulations, read through them and understand. Then the treasury accounting instructions. Get these instructions. I could refer you to the Ministry of Finance website, www.finance.go.ug. You can get good resources. You'll find the treasury accounting instructions are there. You'll find the Public Finance Management Act is there. You'll find the new amendments. You'll find the new information regarding public finance management. Then you need to have the Local Government Act 1997 as amended, the Local Government Finance and Accounting Manual 2007, the Code of Conduct and Ethics for Public Service, the IPSAS handbook. I put IPSAS handbook stock IFRS book because public sector accounting, IPSAS, are basically borrowed from IFRS book. And therefore, it is important that you also read through the IFRS book and relate it with the IPSAS. You will become a better student and a better public accountant if you are aspiring to be one. The government of Uganda reporting templates. I don't know how many of students or participants that have seen the government of Uganda reporting templates. But if you are preparing for public sector, then you need to have these templates. Again, I can refer you to the Treasury Accounting Instructions, the website for finance. You can find these templates such that you know how these templates look like. Sometimes I have seen the exam requiring students to use a certain templates. And therefore, it is important that you acquaint yourself with these templates. Ask your tutors to provide these templates if you have not seen any. Then the current developments, stock reforms in public finance management. There are a number of reforms in public finance management. Again, you need to be current. IPSAS, eCash, new reforms that the government introduces in the management of public finance. You need to know them. The leadership code. I have told you that you can visit the Minister of Finance website for new updates. Then the other item is choose the appropriate method of learning or instruction. If you are preparing for these exams, then you must choose the right method that you think will help you in acquiring knowledge. If possible, attend lectures with the tutors or lecturers that have a blend of both the qualification and experience in public sector. Of course, as a student, it may not be easy for you to know that my lecturer or my tutor has both the experience in the public sector. But my advice, if it is possible to learn or to know, get the tutors that have the experience in public sector. So look for institutions that can give you that blend of experience in tutors. The other thing that I will invite you to look through are the examiners reports and comments. After every examinations, I'm sure that the institute publishes the examiners reports and comments. For you who is preparing to do these exams, I encourage you to read through these examiners reports, because the examiners report gives you areas where candidates performed well and areas where candidates performance was below the expected standard. So you'll know where were other candidates, where were they doing? The candidates who were there before me, what were they performing? How were they performing? It also gives a commentary on both technical content and non-technical content. It also gives a comparison of percentage of candidates who pass compared to prior examinations, such that you get to know how students have been performing, and you prepare yourself both psychologically, to know that either the exams is always very easy or it is not easy. I can't tell you that the exams have always been easy. I have passed through the same exams, and the exams are not always easy, but it can be easy once you are prepared. So the examiner's reports will be a helpful document for any candidate preparing for exams. So get through these examiner's reports for public sector, read through, because I'm sure that it gives explanations on each question, how students performed or how they fared, what they did right and what they didn't get right. Prepare yourself and have a timetable. Design a timetable to help you maximize the limited time that you may have for revision and other papers and personal errands. I know most of the students for professional courses, most of them may be studying as well as working. And therefore, we have very limited time. You have so many things competing for our time. Their studies, their personal errands, and if you have a family, it even becomes a very big problem. You have a family, you have lectures, you have work. So to avoid time wastage, for you to maximize the limited time that you have, please make a timetable on when you should do revision, when you should do this paper, and when you can relax. The other item that I would encourage you to do is practice past papers. Exam question practice is very important. Repeatedly practice exam questions on topics covered by your tutor or your lecturer. Work through the previous exam questions and try to analyze the examiner's requirements. Pick easy marks in the questions. This will give you confidence. Try to see which questions you can do. Which questions, usually they say once you start and you are able to do something, it gives you confidence. So if you are able to do those easier questions, attempt them, see how best you can achieve the required marks within a stated time. And I would also encourage you to find time and time yourself and give probably your tutor or lecturer to mark you. And follow the trend and the format of exam papers. A careful study of the past questions over the past years will guide you as to the form and the format of the exams. I have been looking through the past papers, and I have observed that question 2 in section B has consistently been based on PPDA. So by following the format, follow the trend and the format of exam papers, you can be able to tell that question 1 is usually either based on the preparation of financial statements, and they ask this and this and that. Question 2, like I've told you, by review of the past exam questions, I have noted that question 2 in section B has been consistently been on a PPDA. So as a student, get the past papers, look through them, see the format on what has been tested. see the topics that are common so that you can prepare. Then learn the technical materials or content. For example, the IPSAS. A review of examiners' comments reveals that most candidates are unable to apply IPSAS. Now, it is a challenging that if you are preparing for public sector accounting and you do not know IPSAS, you do not know the International Public Standards Accounting for Public Sector, candidates are unable to apply IPSAS when asked in the case or scenario questions. I'm telling you, invest yourself by acquiring the handbook. But you may not even need to buy the handbook because some of these are available. If you went into IFAC, you can get these IPSAS that are available for learners, for education institutions. You can download them. I know most of us now have smartphones. Have IPSAS in your phone. Let it be your Bible. Read through them. Practice applications of these standards. And I would encourage you to pay attention to those IPSAS that do not have related IS or IFRS. Alternatively, maybe I would advise, if it is possible, that you do public sector accounting together with the paper 13, advanced financial reporting, because they would complement. As you read IPSAS, as you read IFRSs, there are those IFRSs that are same except with the wordings. The terminology that is used in IFRS may be slightly different, but a majority of IPSAS are borrowed from IFRS and International Accounting Standards. So if it is possible, if you can, please do public sector accounting with advanced financial reporting paper 13, so that you can complement the knowledge. Use prior knowledge of lower level papers and advanced reporting. I've just been mentioning this. Don't attempt to read public sector accounting in isolation. You'll need prior knowledge obtained in financial accounting, financial management, paper 10, financial reporting, paper 8, and advanced financial reporting. These papers are complementary. Again, I have read the examiner's reports, and I've seen the papers, and I see some of the items asked are basically things to do with what was done in accounting 1. The users of financial statements.
Excuse
Now,
me.
yes, please.
Let me encourage our attendees to use the Q&A to type in any comment, any question. Don't raise your hand now because you're still in the presentation. Use Q&A. Then at the end of the presentation, we shall look at the Q&A and see your comments, whatever you want to say. Let's continue.
Okay, thank you. So please use prior knowledge of lower level papers. Don't attempt to read public sector accounting and reporting in isolation. Again, it is very important that you read, have that knowledge, because you will be asked to calculate something in finance, in public sector accounting, you'll be asked to prepare financial statements. And therefore, you need all that knowledge. Don't say, I passed the financial reporting paper 8, I don't need to read it again. I passed financial management paper 10, I don't need it again. These papers are complementary. Be current, be up to date with the changes in the laws, the regulations, reforms affecting public finance management. Public Finance Management Act 2015 is a key law that helps in the management of public finance. Every other time, there are new amendments that Parliament has done on the law. I think I can note a few in the management of contingency fund, in the supplementary budgets. A number of amendments have been made. And therefore, as a student, when you get the act, when you get the Public Finance Act, when you get the PPDA Act, also look for the amendments, the number of amendments that have been made. And once the amendments are made, they will publish an amendment act. So look for the amendments, read them together with the original law. From the examiner's reports, one of the areas highlighted are that candidates use all the provisions that have been amended or deleted. You therefore need to keep pace with the changes in the law, regulations, and the new reforms. Have a positive attitude and a mindset. Usually they say, once you have a positive attitude, everything looks easier. Everything will begin to look easier and possible. The moment you begin saying, yes, I can, yes, I'm going to pass this paper, and have that conviction and have that belief that it is possible, then public sector accounting will be very easy for you. So change your assumptions and beliefs that public sector accounting is impossible to pass. If there are others that have passed, who are you? Just tell yourself that I'm going to pass this paper. You hear students say, public sector is impossible to pass these days. The institute fails students. The examiners are biased. Think positively and work towards overcoming areas that are challenging. Revise your notes, attend lectures, have a discussion group. There is no reason why the institute would want to fail students. There is no reason why examiners fail students. Examiners cannot fail students. The institute cannot fail students. So just have a positive mind. The institute wants to have a group of professional accountants who are well groomed in the subject matter, who will not put the image and the profession in a bad image. So just have a positive mind, things will work out for you. That is basically what I would think will help us to prepare for our examinations for public sector. Now, having gone through what I think what can help us to prepare for exams, I just want briefly to go through what I think makes students fail. Of course, once you have not prepared yourself properly, you have not attended lectures, you will have a problem passing public sector accounting. So why do students usually fail these exams? One of them is poor time management. I have already told you, in order for you to prepare for public sector, you need to have a timetable. But also during examinations, you must prepare yourself and manage your time during exams. So poor time management before and during exams. For example, during exams, spending too much time on one question. There are 3 hours that are allocated for exams, and you must do question A, section A, which is question 1 for 50 marks, and you must attempt 2 questions from section B. So apportion your time well. Don't dwell on one question that you think you are going to get all the marks, and then you spend all your time in one question and you forget to do other questions. And it's better that you start exams with the question that is easy. Don't start with a hard question. Start with a question that you think you can easily score high marks. Do it very fast, go to the next, pick those questions that are easy. Don't attempt a hard question because you want to show the examiners or you want to show the institute that you can do. Start with the easy questions. Of course, lack of preparations, we have already talked about how to prepare. So if you have not done what we have already talked about, then it becomes a problem. Then the other thing that from my experience as a tutor, a lecturer, some students fail because of overconfidence. Because you are overconfident, you will completely mismanage things and wait maybe until the last moment to prepare for exams. And then there are those students who may have failed the exams previously and say, me, I'm not going back to class, I have the notes. But if you fail with those notes, you should better put them aside and go back to class. Don't say you have experience. What experience do you have? You have experience in failing, you better go back to class. Then the other challenge that I have seen with the professional courses is having a discussion is good. Having a discussion group is good. But there are students who hop from group to group, trying to seek advice. And seeking advice is good, but you must seek advice when you are well prepared, when you already have the subject matter. But if you are jumping from group to group for looking for discussion group, you will get confused. Have a group of 2 or 3 people that you can discuss with, and a group that allows participation. But if you have a very big group, it becomes also a big challenge. Again, failure to articulate answers well. From the comments in the examiner's reports, I saw a number of comments that students are failing to present answers in a logical way. So try to present your answers, let it flow. Let it have a certain logical flow. Let the answers flow to make the examiners easily follow your reasoning. And some students have very poor handwriting. Please, during exams, attempt to improve on the handwriting. And then, of course, the other one is failure to get current changes in the laws. You think that you have given the correct answers, but kumbe the provision that you are quoting was changed. You come out of exams thinking that this one I've scored, this one I've passed, only to find out that the provision that you wrote was the one that was changed and it was deleted. It's no longer relevant. And failure to manage study alongside work and family responsibilities. Like I noted earlier, most of students in the professional courses have either they are working, have families, and therefore it is important that you have a timetable such that you can manage. Misinterpretations of questions. Exam questions could be moderately tricky, and the students must be able to determine what the examiner wants on each question to give correct answers. A review of examiners' comments from past exams shows that most candidates misinterpret the requirements of questions. I have seen most of the comments from examiners' reports showing the candidates mistook this requirement to mean this. And therefore, to avoid this, you must practice. You must practice questions, previous questions, to see what is asked. Then seek advice from your tutors, from your friends, and see what you think are the requirements of the question. Is it the same as what your other colleague or a tutor thinks that is the requirement of the question? But if you have not been practicing, it becomes very hard for you to know. Then the other one is inability to transfer or apply prior knowledge acquired in the lower papers. This I had already mentioned it. In conclusion, I want to say that the public sector accounting and reporting has a wide coverage of syllabus. The syllabus, from my review, is wide. From the laws, PPDA, IPSAS themselves are too many, but you need to know them. There are new reforms in the public sector. All that is required of you. And therefore, it is important that you prepare early. If it was me preparing for exams, I would actually prepare and sit for public sector. I would begin reading in June and do exams in November, December. Don't prepare for these exams for 2 months and you think you'll be able to go through successfully. You need to have adequate time. The syllabus is wide, so you need to prepare. The key to excelling in public sector is to begin preparation early. Attend lectures, practice, and practice, and have a positive mindset. The sky will not be the limit. You will be able to excel. I want to thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Shaz Onyu, for that wonderful presentation and the wise counsel you have given us to see us through this paper, Public Sector Accounting and Reporting. And I think our participants have gained a thing or two, which will help us to excel in this paper.
You're
I
welcome.
wish that our presenter, I think candidates find challenges in applying the IPSAS. How could you advise them? How easy could they understand their practical application of the IPSAS in financial reporting, more so in public sector?
From my experience, the first thing you need to know is, first you need to understand what is the IPSAS saying. What are the requirements in the IPSAS? What is the scope of the IPSAS? Then you go through the details of IPSAS and see where is this IPSAS applicable. Go through a number of questions. When you are reading any question, try to match, is this question concerning inventory? If it is concerning inventory, which IPSAS is applicable? Then you go and read IPSAS that is concerned with inventory. What does IPSAS concerning inventory, what does it talk about? What does it say on inventory, for example, that is acquired, that's acquired and used or distributed by a public sector entity for free? How do you account for it? So get the questions, read the IPSAS, and see how you can apply. What is the question asking? Because the question will guide you on how you should use the IPSAS. The IPSAS tells you, once you have this scenario, this is how you are going to account for inventory. But if you have not read the IPSAS, and you also don't know how to account for inventory, it becomes very hard. So you need to know the IPSAS, read the IPSAS from its scope, from the details, and see how it fits in a scenario question.
Thank you, Mr. Onyu, for that elaborate explanation. I think also another piece of advice is time management during these exams, because examiners always indicate marks which relate to each question, say part A 5 marks, part B 20 marks, and candidates will spend more time writing 3-4 pages to a question of 5 marks. Yet, even if you write how many pages, you can't earn more than 5 marks on that question. And you compromise other questions which have bigger. So also time management challenges them so much. But thank you for the presentation. And I think our participants have gained something from it. When I look at our Q&A, there is someone, anonymous attendee, says, good evening, our dear facilitator. Where do we find examiners' reports that you always talk about? Mr. Anonymous attendee, they always uploaded on the website. Go to the portal and you see them. Then Flavia is asking if the syllabus is going to change come next year. Yes, Flavia, it will change. And it will be communicated. But it will change, but not so much. But it will change definitely next year. And then Nacha Smaya, do we have IPSAS for inventory? Mr. Onyu, can you answer her? Hello?
Hello?
Somebody is asking if we have an IPSAS for inventory.
Yes, we do. IPSAS 12 is IPSAS 12 talks about the inventory. So yes, we do have IPSAS 12.
Okay, thank you. It has been answered. We have an IPSAS which regards inventory, in particular, that's IPSAS 12, as we have been told. And looking at my Q&A, I see no other comment, no other. Okay, I'm seeing someone, Sasira says, is P14 going to be split into 2 papers next year or move to another level? No, it won't be. It will still be 1 paper and it will still be on level 3. So it will be the same paper as it is today, as it is now, level 3, which means it will have the same number 1 with 50 marks, then other numbers with 25 marks. So it will be the same structure, same paper, same level. Thank you. I think I see no other comments, other Q&A. Someone says, which IPSAS are commonly examined? Mr. Onyu, can you throw some light on which IPSAS are commonly examined? Vincent N inquires.
From my scanning through the past papers, I see almost all IPSAS are examined. I would encourage the candidates or students to check in the syllabus, because they are highlighted which IPSAS are examined. But all the IPSAS are basically examined, but please read through the syllabus and see the IPSAS that are highlighted.
Thank you. That's a good answer. I would also encourage candidates to read everything on the syllabus. Don't pick which is commonly, which is not commonly. As long as it is on the syllabus, it is examinable, and it can be picked. The examiner is at liberty to pick anything on the syllabus. So read everything there is in the syllabus and be able to be focused and pass this paper. Someone says, this is Dara Christian, says, thanks for the presentation. It's clear that the paper is wide concerning the IPSAS and other legislations that are constantly changing. What would you advise a student who has registered and has no other option as of now? What would be your suggestion on the legislations and manuals? So she or he is asking, what advice would you give? Because he says the paper is wide, considering IPSAS and other laws to consider.
My advice is simple. Do you feel that you are ready for exams? If you feel that you are ready for exams, go ahead and do. If you feel that you are not going to pass, that you are not ready, I think the institute has an option where someone can defer if you have paid the examination fees. But I don't know when the exams will be. Maybe you still have time to read, but if you don't have time, please postpone doing exams and get ready. That will be my advice. Do exams when you are ready.
Thank you. Also, someone still asking, anonymous attendee, that regarding the new syllabus, which papers will be done by students who are joining from SCCA. It still remains tax and public sector because what is done there does not does not satisfy our Ugandan context. So that's why we shall still take taxi and the public sector. I think I see no other comments. Let me take this opportunity to thank our presenter for this presentation, which has been good for our success in the paper, and also thank participants who have been able to attend in this evening. It's not easy in the evenings, but you have been brave enough to attend. Thank you so much. And I wish to encourage you to read and do enough practice, as we have been told by our presenter. And don't come when you're not ready, because much as this has sittings June, September, they are for those who are ready. Skip sitting so that you can be ready and come when you are ready in the next immediate sitting. Because when you see our pass rates, they are really not good enough. Like in September, we had 20% pass rate, and others haven't been good also. Actually, we have not registered any pass rate 40% in the recent years, which means people come when not ready for the exams, but just because the institute has a sitting, they also come and attend. So I really encourage you to get ready, read, and be able to pass this paper. You'll be excelling in your career for the next level.
Ignatius.
Yes.
Have you read the Q&A?
Yes, I think I've
talking about the exemptions. Did you respond to that?
Yes, I think I've told this one who's saying that he was asking if the bus will still have those joining from SCCA to do tax and public sector. And I said yes, because it will be still the same context.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for attending. And I wish now to end this. Let me see this new. Someone is asking, when answering public sector question is it a must write the IPSAS numbers to quote it? In other words, he's asking if we should quote a particular IPSAS. Mr. Onyu, can you help him understand that?
Depending on the requirements of the question. If the question tells you in reference to a specific IPSAS, then you know that they are trying to test you whether you know the IPSAS. So if the question is specific, please quote the IPSAS according to this IPSAS. According to IPSAS 12, it says this and this. So depending on the requirement of the question, you can quote the IPSAS.
Okay. Thank you. I see no other comment, no other Q&A, no other concern. I wish now to end this webinar and wish everybody in attendance. Let me see this latest and last. Does CPA host webinars? Does CPA host webinars where we saw revision and go through? It's not clear. Does CPA host webinars where we saw revision and go through the comments by examiners? It's not clear. I've not understood this question. Maybe you can rephrase it and we have it answered. Still have some time we should end at 7, but we still have some time, so you can rephrase your concern.
Ignatius. Ignatius and members. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, thank you so much, CPA Onyu. Mine is not a question, but is to is to remind attendees before I get off, because I'm joining some noisy place, that next week we have the engagement still running. Kindly let them check their photos. You'll find that information, their addresses. And maybe to be specific, on Monday, we shall have advanced finance. We shall have advanced financial management on Monday at 5. That's what I can remember offhand. But we have a program running. If we, Ignatius, you have it in here, you could give them a summary since you are still on table. But otherwise, we are happy for their attendance. I may be off shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anonymous has rephrased this question. It says, where do we go through numbers, like numbers, and go through the comments? I think the purpose is to find a good training institution where you practice and revise and go through numbers and comments. Then Brenda is asking when are the amendments effective? When are amendments effective? Mr. Onyu, have you talked about any?
The amendments of the law are usually effective when the president has assented to the amendments. Once Parliament has passed, usually they are sent to the president for his signature. So once the president has assented, then they become effective. So whichever amendment is passed by Parliament, there is usually a time when it is effective. That is the time when the president has assented the law, when he has signed.
Okay. Also talk to us about amendments in IPSAS. Maybe they also need to be knowledgeable about when they become effective. Like say an IPSAS has been amended or has been changed somehow.
Yes, with the IPSAS, also once there is a new amendment, they usually give us when the amendment will take effect, when it is effective. And usually once it is out, they give a time frame. They give a time frame when it is effective, when it can be adopted. I think that's basically, usually they give a time frame when it is effective, when it can be adopted, and when the other one, if it's a new one, when the other one, the old one is withdrawn, and the other one becomes effective. There is usually a time frame for each IPSAS.
All right, thank you very much for that answer also. I think we have answered everything there was in Q&A. So should we assume that the current amendments are effective? Those that relate to the regulatory framework. Still, Brenda is asking about the amendments when they become effective. But I think you have ably answered that when the president assents to any change in the law or regulations. I thank members for attending and being so active in this presentation. And I wish you a good evening and best wishes for your preparations as we near the December exams. And I wish that you pass the paper well. We now sign out. Thank you.
Thank you too.